akwaba edebo Oheneba Media so na said the nyina yenim no EJURA nsensem a ekoso a trendy a social media ye ni ede akire aba besi samre eyade a aban anase emra so abeda ho no ma say de committee a yate anase mpanyimfo ate se omontena se na assembly de besi bia no omonhwehwe mu ekopem se yebehu de si yankasa ede ewuo no ebaye eno eneguso a ekoso na no nti ene Oheneba Media yebepie mu ewo Prempe Assembly Hall ewo Kumase na yedi yeni ebedi akire na se wo hwa enrada yedi bi ebremo na ene eyede toso mienu anase ene eye D2 eno nti die ebesi bia no Oheneba Media yemfa nkamemo yede bebremo medin ede ma me yakisiwa kosoa de hwe dwumedie.
You had 10 officers at EJURA on that day. Is that not true?
Yes.
And they had how many vehicles did they take along? Vehicles. How many vehicles?
Vehicles?
Yes, please.
I'll get those details from my battalion commander later. I can't give you now the number of vehicles that we had there.
Okay, so would you agree that obviously that battalion commander must also be invited to this committee?
Maybe, basically, is what, maybe he might also only give you the nitty-gritties. Yes. But basically what he will come to tell you is what he reported to me. Maybe the nitty-gritties, but if you think that there is a need, but I think basically what I'm telling you is what he reported to me, and I reported that to my headquarters. So for me, if you still insist, no problem, but I think what I'm the commander, so it serves what I'm giving you is exactly what happened.
So do you have any further comments on the issue to tell the committee?
Now, the only point I want to add is that but not for what we did together with the police. And I'm telling you because it was already a joint military police patrol that we've been doing. But not for what we did in EJURA. I can bet you there will be more casualties, more deaths to civilians and security alike if the chairman of RECSEC didn't give good judgment. And I believe the judgment he gave by inviting us to intervene was the right one. Thank you.
Thank you.
Members would like to ask some few questions.
Yes, sir.
D3âth, thank you very much for your testimony. I'd like to ask you, when your battalion gets on the ground, do you have constant contact with them, even in the situation we saw in EJURA?
Certainly we have. What in the military happens is that when we deploy immediately, we send an immediate incident report. And then once the incident report, in fact the field commander sends the report to the battalion commander, he sends it to my headquarters. So we monitor everything, but of course the details, the nitty-gritty sometimes I may not get it, but the field commander on the ground will be able to get the nitty-gritty, but we get reports, immediate reports, whatever ever happens. Yeah.
And the field commander usually has the last say, or they have to come back to someone like you, for example, to give them what to do to graduate or escalate their intervention?
I didn't get that. If you can repeat it.
I was asking if the field commander would usually, after they've given you an incident report, wait on you to give them what to do in the next instance, or they are allowed to take their own decisions on the field?
On the ground, they take decisions depending on the situation. They don't have to wait for us to give instructions as what to do. But they are trained officers, they know the procedure, the rules of engagement. So on the ground, the field officer takes the decision he thinks is appropriate. If he has any problem, he calls back to his battalion commander. But this is a matter of, it's fast, it's done very, very fast. It's not, it doesn't take too much time.
I suppose my last question is, you've said that this particular operation was done in conjunction with the police. on the field, who takes the lead in terms of whose command goes in terms of crowd control, for instance?
When it gets to where the military is invited, the military takes control. When it gets to where, at the stage that the military is invited on ground, the military takes control. That's what happens.
Thank you, Commander. Let me ask you, when you ordered them to proceed to EJURA, what operational gadgets did you ask them to carry along? When you asked them to proceed to EJURA upon the instructions of the Regional Security Council Chairman, what operational gadgets did you ask them to carry along?
Oh, there is SOP in the military, even with the patrol that they've been doing, it's an SOP. Our established equipment is SOP. Once you are moving to an area, you don't have to call the officer, take this, he himself knows the equipment and then, whatever he's supposed to go with. That one we can get back and then we get the details of it. But it's an SOP with every officer. That particular operations you go with along with certain equipment.
If I may ask, did they carry along tear gas to disperse the crowd or demonstrators?
The military, we don't have tear gas. Maybe the police, but we didn't carry tear gas. The military, we don't. Within our equipment, I don't think we have tear gas. That I'm aware of. So they didn't. I believe they didn't go with tear gas.
You see, it's a joint operation,
yes.
The police and the military, and you have told the committee when it is a joint operation, it is the military that takes the lead. So we are assuming that whatever equipment, gadgets that they are taking to the scene, the military will be aware. So my question is, did the team, including the police, did they carry along tear gas?
Not to my knowledge, but once we take over at that stage, we have a procedure that we follow. Crowd dispersal procedure, which you can relate it to rules of engagement, and that does not include tear gas.
And one of your rules of engagement is to use live bullets.
Yes. Yes.
Under what circumstance will the military use the live bullets on demonstrators? Under what circumstance?
When you give verbal warning, when you give warning shots, then within particularly, you see people firing back from the crowd. Certainly, you'll have to use live weapons, live ammunition. And to maim.
Have you seen the video of the incident subsequently?
Oh, I've only seen a short video yesterday. I think I was watching when you showed a video of civilians chasing a police van where they were throwing, it wasn't even tear gas, I believe it was water cannons. So that's what I saw.
The video that you saw, do you think it required the application of the use of live bullets?
My Lord, I don't believe the video I saw was the beginning. Maybe there were other issues that maybe you might not have seen, but what I had heard from my commander was that even as I talk to you now, we have arrested 2 gentlemen with weapons. So we've reported it to the police. They are currently, I don't know whether they are police, but with weapons.
Did your commander on the ground inform you that he saw or heard any gunshot from the ground?
Certainly.
Towards which direction?
My Lord, of course I wasn't there. My battalion commander even was the field commander. But you cannot look at this, even the video and know the direction. I don't know EJURA very well. I've been to EJURA 1 or 2 times. But I may not be able to visualize the direction.
In your testimony, you said they shot to maim the people. After they shot, did they proceed to look at those who were wounded to ascertain whether they were holding any weapons like a gun, a machete, or something? Did your men do that?
My lord, my men should not do that, because we are there on an operation. Then we cannot. That was even dangerous, because if the people had shot at us and we were replying, for us to do a follow-up within the crowd to know how many were, I think would have been foolhardy on our part.
The purpose of using the live bullet is to take absolute control of the situation.
Yes.
Having fired warning shots, having fired into the crowd to, as you described, as a minimum force to take control, were they able to take control of the situation?
The crowd dispersed. The crowd dispersed, and then it was under control. The crowd never surged back. That's as I was told. So if the crowd has, I believe, they would have been fired more. But because of that firing, it scared them, and I think the crowd was under control.
This brings me to the earlier question. You have taken absolute control. Men have been shot. Those wounded couldn't run. My question is, the wounded, did your men find them with any lethal weapon at the scene?
My lord, I think we didn't follow up on that. We didn't follow up on that to find out whether those who were wounded, I mean, they were. We didn't follow up on that, my lord.
Don't you think that, in view of the fact that one of your procedures is to use live bullets when the need arises, it would have been better for them to have arranged an ambulance, for example, to follow them, so as that if any casualties should happen, they will be carried to the hospital for treatment, because your intention is not to kill.
Anyway, and after an afterthought, maybe that would have been appropriate.
Thank you.
General, good morning.
Morning, sir. My professor.
Well, General, thank you for your testimony. I will start off with your relationship with the RECSEC. You know, at that level, it is at the strategic level. So you were informed about it and you started your procedures. Can we say one man represents the RECSEC? He's the chairman, but then does he represent the RECSEC? Why was there not a small strategic meeting? Then we wouldn't have had all these problems, because you know at that level, crisis management, the rest, an emergency meeting to map out the strategies for controlling the crowd. Do you think in this country we need to rely on one man because he's the chairman, giving orders that way?
But in this circumstance, Prof, I think at the time we've been having emergency meetings on issues like this very often in Kumasi over here. But in this particular instance, the chairman of RECSEC was not in town and when it was happening. So I believe if he had not taken any action, eventually it would have been worse. So he was in Accra, I'm told. Later he called me to tell me that he was in Accra attending a meeting. So I think it wasn't possible for him to have come down to call a meeting, an emergency meeting, even though we have the police commander who will always, in his absence, he takes over. But I think at the time, he wasn't around. But if he had been on ground, I believe he would have called an immediate emergency meeting.
Supposing it was not in Ghana, you didn't even hear, would the RECSEC not still function? Would you still not have functioned?
Oh, in that case, he would have delegated. Once he's out of town, he will know that he's out of town maybe for a period of time. Then he will then send a message that I'm out of town, other police commander, in case of anything, you take charge as chairman of RECSEC. That is different. But he was just in Accra, and it was, it was a matter of going to camp. That was the issue. And the time issue was there. What was revolving in EJURA, for him to come down to Kumasi and take the Shishibe, by that time we would have been here trying to explain ourselves what happened.
General, in such situations, when the police are overwhelmed, the general practice everywhere is the military comes in and takes over completely. But the military does not just go in and say, police, stay, and then you take over. You know it already. What went on between the police and the military? You know, there should have been some kind of briefing,
yes,
handing over,
yes,
and the strategies, the role that who and who will play. My Lord asked you whether there was ambulance, because it is what we normally call interagency cooperation to douse the fire.
yes.
Was there any kind of thing like that, or the military just went in, we know how to do it, but there should have been some interagency cooperation?
Sir, my Lord, maybe that's the procedure, and we know when we are to take over, as we are invited, there's a whole lot of official procedure that takes place. But with the exigency, sometimes you carry out the action, and these procedures are later worked out. Because you cannot wait to carry out procedures. By the time you get there, you must as well not even go there. But the cooperation between we and the police has been there. Like I just said earlier, we do Operation Come Life duties every day. If I see 2019, we do it every time. We have a joint task force where we meet, we brief each other every day before. So even before they went there, I believe they knew what they were supposed to do, my Lord.
General, you were getting sit reps. You were getting sit reps. Was there any point that, as a GOC, you felt some other methodology, some other strategy should have been applied from the sit reps?
So, the e-crepes that we got, I don't know, but that was the best action that we could take at the time. Maybe, or that was the best action we saw was necessary at the time. And maybe it could have been different, maybe at another circumstance, but at that particular time, that was the best that we could do at the time.
General, you are very experienced in these areas, I know.
Yeah, yes.
I know you personally. This is not the first time we're having such a situation where the military will have to come in and take over. In your experience, would you say that such external situations and the procedures we adopt, like this current one, should be continued? Should this be the only optimal way of crowd control, conflict resolution, mob resolution and things like that? Is it, how long can we go on this? The military comes in, somebody is dead. The military comes in, somebody is dead. In your opinion, is that the only way we can go? Why aren't we diversified?
My personal opinion is that, of course, what you are saying, I subscribe to that, but maybe the other services, I cannot talk for the other services, but with the military, the procedures that we have, and we've been practicing ever since, we haven't had problems, but I cannot talk for the other services. With the police, maybe, but I believe even the police now, things are changing, or things have changed, and maybe it could have been better, my Lord.
General, I won't agree with you that you don't have problems, that you have been practicing. You always have a problem. You still have a problem. You are sitting before us. So there is a problem.
Yes.
And you know that if we are following the procedures that you and I know,
yes,
we talk about, then we could have done something about crowd control, about hooliganism. That's what I'm talking about. If you agree with me,
so, but, my lord, but it's also, I think something basically has to be done with even the citizenry. What I saw on the video that we saw there was terribly unacceptable in a way that you could see kids as young as 10, 8, I could see, chasing a military or a security vehicle that was even pumping water into them. And they were speaking, I understand Hausa, and I heard some of the words. Segu, Kusuragudu, they are running away. It is bad. So, maybe the mindset of the whole scenery is something that we should also consider, please.
General, 2 wrongs do not make a right.
Yes, sir.
They did all that.
Yes, sir.
1 man dead is worse than all that they did.
Yes.
And my contention is that maybe our standard operation procedures need to change.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Thanks, sir.
Yes, General, you said the chairman of REGSEC was out of the town in Accra, and he called. For that matter, REGSEC without him couldn't meet. In this digital age of ours, we all know a call, a video call, or Zoom meetings can be held. Would you agree with me that without him, the other members of REGSEC could have had an emergency meeting either by Zoom or any other technology?
My lord, that could have been possible, but I don't think they have. He has a deputy regional minister yet. And it will amend that it will fall onto the police, because in the absence of the 2 political leaders, I think the one who takes over as REGSEC chairman is the police. And I'm not trying to say that, but for what happened at that particular moment, I think maybe who will organize that Zoom? Is it the police commander who will call me, or the immigration officer? I don't know, but it will have been a little bit difficult. And we believe that once he was in Accra, and the issue had happened, and then when he came, he called an emergency meeting. Immediately he came back, he called an emergency meeting, and we discussed this.
Very well. Let me ask again, what was the specific message that the chairman gave to you, which prompted you to order the battalion to move to EJURA? What was the specific message that gave to you from the chairman?
My lord, it wasn't actually a battalion that we sent there. Like I said earlier, we already operate with the police as Operation Calm Life in Kumasi every day, and we have sectors. So one of the sectors, we have the police military patrols. So he called and said, did you watch the issue that is happening in EJURA? I've got information that it's getting out of control, and I believe that the EJURA police, if we don't take care, they will be overrun, or something serious will happen. Can't we move there? I said no. It was better rather we move there with a few soldiers at that time. Even with so I moved. The battalion commander moved there with military and police to join up with the EJURA police. So that's why he said.
Has it come to your knowledge, either during or after the incident, that the district commander of EJURA sent any message to his superiors, either the divisional commander or the regional commander, regarding the situation they found themselves in at the time? Has it come to your knowledge that the district commander?
I haven't heard that. I haven't heard that.
So upon what basis do we assume that the police at EJURA were overwhelmed?
It is based on what the chairman of REGSEC told me. And I believe once he told me, he couldn't have been lying. It means he got proper intelligence that this was what was happening. And I based everything, my decision, based on the chairman of REGSEC to salvage the situation. And I think it was a better option in my view.
Would you agree with me, General, that if the police EJURA were overwhelmed, the best option was for the district commander to have informed his superior officers for reinforcement in the circumstance.
I believe he would have done that. I believe he did that.
He did that? To your knowledge?
I have no knowledge as to whether he did it or not, but
No.
I suppose he would have done that.
Yes, having a hindsight.
He did. Okay, from my battalion commander, he did.
Don't worry, we will call him.
Oh.
Yes. Having a hindsight to the incident that happened, do you have any suggestions for the committee so that we can consider if we have to make recommendations about the procedures in relation to mob rioting and crowd control? Do you have any suggestions for us?
My Lord, my suggestion would be that I think the committee should accept that it is really very, very necessary when the military is called to support the military in such situations. If not, we can see ourselves in a very serious crisis one day, which will rather even be bad. So I believe that the committee should add in their report that in such situations, the military should support.
Well, if I understand you perfectly, you are saying that before the military will be called to intervene in any sort of situation like this, it should be a situation that requires the military, but not in every given situation.
Exactly, sir.
Thank you.
Yes.
Brigadier General, my question is just to clarify. The 10 people, or 10 of your men, officers that arrived in EJURA, are you aware of them arriving in batches, or all 10 of them arrived at the same time?
They arrived at the same time.
And was it one vehicle, or how many vehicles? All 10 of them arrived
One vehicle.
in one vehicle. Well, thank you very much. I suppose my last question is, as the DOC and as a member of the RegSec, do you ordinarily give advice, security advice, as to what steps can be taken in different security situations?
Absolutely.
This is the norm. And so in this particular instance, were you, asked, because I understand that you were told to move your men there, but were you asked for your advice in terms of how to disperse the crowd or bring the situation under control?
Oh, but the advice is the procedures that I will take as a military man.
Okay.
As I had relayed it to my battalion commander. These are normal procedures that everybody in the military will know.
Okay.
Yeah, thank you.
All right, thank you.
Yes, General, we thank you very much. We would like to find out from you if you have the ground officer, the officer who led the team to EJURA here, if he can assist us with certain information.
He's not immediately here.
Here?
He's not immediately in the hall.
He's not here?
Yes.
Yes,
but
can
I
he?
have the battalion commander, the one who...
We want the officer who went to the ground with the troops.
Then you may have to...
Yeah, maybe tomorrow.
Maybe tomorrow.
Yes. Yes, we will appreciate it if you can ask him to come tomorrow 10 o'clock for him to assist us in our investigation. We are very...
Ordinarily, by what you see here is a great direction. We know that this is what you do. A witness will also be because of it. Like, this is not a cost, also verified. So it's possible for you to video to inside the room. So that's right. We are very sure. Yes, Please can you give your full name, please?
I am the Ghanaian Why?
Can you tell the
Hold on. It is only in documentation that we will not be allowed
Can you tell us what you need to command that you love? Please can you tell the committee what you need to command that you control your area of jurisdiction?
I am the commanding officer for my we are responsible for this operation as actually.
Since EJURA is a town in the Ashanti region, it's definitely under the command, not like the police system. Please can you tell the committee whatever information you had on the incidents that occurred in the 29th June, 28th, 29th of June, 2021 this year?
The Rîöting. This was a month. I have information that there was an easy car and tension mountain at the track. I confirmed with the regional or the deputy regional police commander. Then my GPC called and asked whether I was monitoring the situation at the ground. I responded in a positive. And later on, before that, we also had information that it is getting bad.
When you say before, you also refer to the GC.
Yes. So, as part of Operation Crowd-Brig routine duties, we suggested that we dispatch the Crowd-Brig patrol that is closer to go and assist the police to maintain calm and order. I spoke to the platoon commander who happened to be in charge of Operation Crowd-Brig to proceed to the EJURA police station and then forwarded the EJURA police commander's number to communicate with me so that in the process the situation gets calm and they are not ready to pretend. This is because Operation Crowd-Brig is a 24-hour patrol and they respond to intelligence, distress calls, and information based on what is happening on this level, depending on the facility the patrol responsible has or assist team up with the Crowd-Brig, patrol EJURA, manage to disperse some of the youth that were trying to mass out and maintain the peace and calm until 100 hours, which is Tuesday morning, 29. We withdrew to date. The following day was 29, at about 08:25. The news called in or communicated that the situation is very bad. I conferred with the regional police commander, the deputy regional police commander, and he said they had asked my police to reinforce it. Later, he said if we don't assist, things will get out of hand because the youth are driving the police away at the cemetery, and that there was no policeman in EJURA. They were so hostile to the police that they needed immediate assistance. Then again, I called the patrol responsible for my complaint to go and assist. When they got to the police station, they were briefed by the government commander, and then they decided to move where the protesters were approaching from. According to the commander on the ground, they fired a couple of warning shots, and in the process, they were fired from weapons suspected to be more passion and locally manufactured. And therefore, we have to return fire to May. Unfortunately, we lost two of the protesters. We continue with Aphour for the next short period and review the police station. That is all for us.
Did you say that it was the deputy regional commander who communicated with told the army that was getting outside?
We called to find out whether I was not in my face. Then he said the situation has gotten bad, and that they are gradually losing control of the place. So I discussed with the D3âth, who gave us the right to use camp life to assist them.
And the camera team was the
Yes, Shanti reform, greater democracy, has been sectorized to sector with the patrol team of camera patrol team responsible for these sectors. So as and when we have distress calls or we have any information, intel, we look at the location and what the particulars responsible for that sector respond.
Did you actually speak to the EJURA, any of the extra commanders, either this or something like this?
The
We thank you for coming to help us with this investigation. You said you spoke to the deputy police commander, and the information he gave you suggests that the situation was getting out of hand, for which there was a need for the request to the President Ghana move to the scene. Did you find out from the deputy police commander whether he has ordered reinforcements? Because district commander, you have the divisional command, you have the regional command. Did you ascertain from him, the deputy police commander, whether he has ordered that reinforced police should move to the scene? Safety, like the commander said, tear gas and other equipment that we put that way to bring this situation down. If you ascertain from him whether he has sent reinforcement to radio, because radio will be only where the police exhausted their means of controlling the crowd.
Yes, ma'am. I confirmed, and he said they had ordered police to assist.
And moving your operation Camp Life personnel to Kenya. You said when they went straight to the district police for bringing. Did they report you that when they went there, they found additional police officers who have been dispatched from Mount Team or the society?
They went there on two occasions, Monday.
I'm talking about the 29th. Yes.
When I didn't ask specific questions specifically, but when we got there, the patrol team realized that the police had withdrew belonged to their station. So we decided to mobilize themselves. The police commander briefed the military patrol commander to the troops and then agreed that the military takes the lead to help calm the situation.
In your estimation, do you think that the police did their work well because we have changed commands, reinforcement from the division or another district if it cannot contain the go for bigger reinforcement to the scene? Do you think the police have appropriately handled the situation on the ground well?
It's very from where we want to look at it. Because when the incidents happen, the Camp Life patrol that patrols around mountain, was closer. So they might have called their reinforcement from Kumasi, but the patrol closer were there before the one coming from Kumasi. So it depends on how we want to look at it.
Yes, the instructions that were coming in from the sea or the information related to your team at EJURA. Did they come to the notice that after the went, any reinforcement team arrived there?
Thank you very much. Just to quickly ask, did you ever go on the field yourself? Were you ever on the site yourself during the 28, 29, 30 So you wouldn't be able to tell the community, for example, where a police station is in relation to where the crowd
so overpowers them was. I just have a fair idea of the town.
Is the police station far from where you would say they had told you the crowd? Okay, but then none of the rioting crowd has gone to the police station.
We were headed there.
They were heading
So
to
the military team actively very personnel with the police at the station. So in case a group of persons stand behind to attack them, they will defend
So, mechanical, do you feel that the police have adequate countermeasure and apparatus to control crowds? They don't use, for example,
to be difficult for me because
but from your military training and the things that you know are required for engaging with situations such as we're describing, you feel as if they probably have
it's the military is totally different from the police.
that's right.
Our mode of training, our principles we work with, and the way we do our things is quite different from the police. So it will be difficult for me to assess them my training and ground.
Thank you.
Good morning.
Good morning, sir.
Now, I'm getting a little confused about this operation, how live and everything. So, most of the things we're describing, I may understand it from a different committee and other committees. Different. Operation Town Live is a 24/7 operation going on already in the region.
Yes,
Then something happens and the DRS Town Live unit is sent to the police. You were involved in asking them to go, right?
yes, after my POC.
Okay. So the operation airline is also not military alone. Okay.
Yes,
Military components.
yes.
So at that point, the commanding for battalion or airline.
With Operation Crowd-Brig, it's a joint operation.
I know.
Now, what happens is that the military commander is the ground and operational commander, while the police senior police officer is at the police headquarters operations team where the joint operations is. So, on the ground is the military, back in the operations group is the police. And we as the battalion and the regional police control Operation Crowd-Brig.
That's what I wanted to do. So whatever happened on the ground, is it the police commander in the operation group and you know how ground conflict mistakes? Is it the police commander in the operation group who is boss or you?
I am not the overall. There is an officer who is in charge of Operation Crowd-Brig. And then the police do have an officer who is in charge of Operation Crowd-Brig. The military commander goes to the field. While the police commander is the guy who goes to the field, he stays in the box and directs the patrol what is happening where, because the police numbers are out there in the area. So people call and then they receive a direct which come by patrol to the place. In the same way, the military does the same. If, for example, my police has information, everybody calls to give us information, intelligence, then we call the patrol back to the field or do something to do this.
No, it's not personal. The committee wants this information, right? Good condition. And I first ask them what they answer. Because if you don't answer that question, if you don't necessarily answer, if you don't have an answer, you get there. Because we need to streamline this with the agency operation. And if that is not well handled, you can have a situation where the police will turn their guns against you or you turn your guns against you. Who is in control?
control of Crowd-Brig, not Crowd-Brig, we told you what the Crowd-Brig structure check. In the event that, who is who was? In the event that we are now, yes, who was? The Crowd-Brig patrol commander of the what was your role then? What was my role? Your role? My role. I am the battalion commander responsible for fashion. Now, the initial request was for soldiers. But we couldn't use soldiers when Crowd-Brig was in operation. Thank you. Don't go for it. Exactly why. Because the use has told our operations to restore power and places. Just like when you I was supposing in your command to the original life in EJURA, the police commanding officers in your gave different command. Because this is that is why I want our report tonight was the possibility for federal crisis. So like I'm giving you a guess now when the commanding officer of the police and you know I think you want to do those programs already. In the operativity of agencies, very important that that's our life. Because this is about addressing the military was giving command to operational life, right? No, really, they were informed of what was happening. So the ground commander that is time.
Seba quality pay dia yama African weather dia and one is Swiss quality pay. What you would enti with the chew down one almost 15-year guarantee. Ebuona efo ana kala bia nso onsa beka bi. Ankran any companies ya mu pebia tu no monfre omu warehouse number ye 054 9054 344. Afi sales officer nso ubetimi afre no 055 835 7626. Swiss quality paint ya na obema wodan wa ye hyenhyem sa koso monka Ghana baby anso obema free delivery ya wuntu ya hwe ya ne yantoso enti ani wo mu eni dwa Safa inchansen papa ya de bodan so paadia eno ane adable roofings and resist heat and afe enfedi so ni color bond material or de bodan so nti oma 25-year guarantee a ema wa rehemu sa wo pe adable roofings e wo enkrane ne mpatamu afo ani kire of ankobaria mo amwo kumase ene ne mpatamu nso momfo ani kire ehwa overseas junction adable roofings moye samenhia e wo dan boso ampa fre 0248 944 710 esa ye WhatsApp number fre adable nani wo mu ni edwa